Hi, and welcome to another News from Build mini video here. Because Build from Microsoft is running right now in June of 2026. So I've been covering hardware, AI, and such things. And in this one, I'm going to cover both agentic AI and Windows development because they are kind of related. And this is actually the one I'm most excited about at the moment. Because I do a lot of agentic coding using Codex and also having an agentic harness in Hermes agent at the moment. So let's jump into it. So agentic coding clause, which is the general term now for OpenClaw, Hermes agent, and similar, and Windows development, making Windows better for us as developers. And they did two foundational things for us as Windows developers. The first thing they have introduced, which I have read shortly about, but definitely want to try and see if it has an angle into Microsoft Agent Framework, is the Microsoft execution containers. So this is a kind of sandboxing, but not a sandboxing of the entire OS, but actually on a per process level. It's something that will be built deep down into Windows. So you can, for example, have an executable, but that executable can only operate in these two folders, no matter how much the user running that process have more access on the machine. It can control networking and stuff like that. So there's an SDK for it. And they're already saying that various tools that they built, which I will talk about in 1 second, already using this. So it is something you can at least put onto your machine at the moment. And I guess at some point it will be built into the next version of Windows in some capacity. But right now it seems like it's something you need to build on your own and target. But definitely I want to check this out, because when we have coding agents locally, this is a much needed thing that we need. I will also guess that something like Codex will begin to use this instead of their own built-in sandbox mode for Microsoft, so they can get rid of that responsibility. So really, really cool and exciting thing that really, really makes it easier for us to have agentic coding, and for those who need to really trust the system that, okay, it can only work in this folder or these 10 folders, but it cannot go out and randomly delete something on your desktop, which was their demo at the keynote, that they tried to make a system that was bound by this, try to delete everything that was on the desktop, and it failing because this layer of Windows was denying it despite the user being able to do it manually. Another cool thing they are doing is they have taken a lot of the Linux command line tools that exist in both Linux, of course, and on the Mac, like grep and RG and bash and homebrew and all these things that many AI tools use. But the second we come to Windows, we can't really use them. Then we need to go in and do Windows subsystem for Linux. And now they're just coming in as it seems like it's a Winget package, and perhaps in the next version of Windows they will be built in. So all these tools, when you are in the terminal, can be used. To me, I don't really care. I don't use those command lines too often, but my agents do this. They expect grep to be there. They expect various tools from Linux to be there because they have been trained on them. And then they fail, and then they need to spend some extra time and switch to some PowerShell scripting instead. So this is really, really cool for Codex, Claude Code, GitHub Copilot, and in general also that we can make our own tools in agent framework and stuff that can rely on these tools instead of knowing that if we are on Windows, we need to do this. If we are Linux, we need to do this. So really, really cool that they are doing it. There's a few of the tools that cannot migrate over because it will give conflicts with what Windows is. But they said there was like 70 different tools that they could bring over, which is really, really cool and a really good initiative from Microsoft to bring parity in development and tools in general. So very cool for that. Then they also demoed OpenClaw on Windows. OpenClaw can run on Windows. It's just very, very rough. OpenClaw in general, I feel, is rough at the moment due to some bugs they have had recently. But this is actually OpenClaw running in a WinUI app. And this is definitely in order for getting it down to more mainstream people. So it won't. It's a rough installation on Windows, and even OpenClaw's own documentation say do it on subsystem for Linux instead, so that can run better. But it's even better on Mac because it wasn't developed there. So this is an initiative that where Microsoft actually is contributing together with the OpenClaw team to get it running on Windows. And it is one of the ones that is actually using the Microsoft execution containers, so it can be more secure, meaning that enterprise companies, once they see this, might allow it for their employees instead of just denying it flatly because all of the security concerns that are around these kind of tools. Microsoft is also doing something similar. It's an early part of it, so it can't do as much as OpenClaw, but they're calling it Microsoft Scout. So it's a system like OpenClaw, but aimed at your Microsoft subscription. So I thought, when I saw this on the demo, I first thought it was something running up in the cloud, but it's actually something you install on your machine. And it could be interesting to try it out. Right now, I'm using Hermes Agent instead of OpenClaw and this. And I'm really happy about it. I'm probably going to make a video about it at some point. But Microsoft is also going into this game. And speaking of going into this game, they also now... So GitHub started out... as one of the first ones helping developers. And then they made all the integrations into Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code. Then Claude Code came along and said that everything needed to happen in the command line and terminal. So GitHub made a terminal version. Then Codex came along, added the Everything app, the app where you can have multitasking and so on. And that's what GitHub Copilot is also jumping on right now. So you get a Copilot app. It is very much like how Codex look, or any of these tools that have multitasking. There's a left sidebar with the different things you're working on at the same time in multiple projects. There's automations and in built-in browsers and stuff. So it's sort of going back to a kind of IDE, but these everything apps instead. If you are a GitHub subscriber, meaning you pay for GitHub Copilot, you can already try this out in a preview version. While if you're on free, you need to sign up for a wait list in order to get access to that. You can install the app, but then when you try to log in, it will just say you can't use it yet because you're not paying. To me, it looks a bit too messy compared to Codex, but that might have been because they had zoomed in a bunch when they were demoing it on stage. But essentially, it's exactly what they can do. So that is everything on de-agentic coding. Really, really cool stuff that I definitely want to go into myself.